Welcome to this first video from FS Executive, a new search firm which is being created by my good friend Nick Savastano, who doesn't need any introduction, and myself, Nigel Sillito. It's always very exciting to be involved in a new venture, and this interview will be broken into two parts. This first section will focus on why we've actually launched a search business during this very hostile business environment. And the second question will be looking at some of the key trends in executive search. And the second part of the interview will reveal who we have on our advisory board and also look at some of our ambitions in the medium and long term. So why don't we kick off with the first question? Nick and I started talking about this some 18 months back, and it was partly because we kept receiving calls from executive search firm consultants saying, hey, do us a favor, can you recommend some people for this new role? Another reason is because Insight Discovery, one of their main activities is research, so it's a natural extension. And joking aside, it's the sort of thing you can do when you're pushing 65 or 70 if you've got a really good network of contacts. So one of the reasons why we're focusing on financial services is because Nick and I worked in this sector for some 75 years, which I think gives our ages away. So we have a very deep understanding of all the components of financial services, whether that be investment management, insurance, or fintech. And maybe, Nick, this is where you could step in and just cover the sort of sectors we're going to focus on and also the types of roles.
Yeah, the sectors we're going to focus on are sectors that we understand really well. We understand the asset management business. Both Nigel and I have spent years in those businesses. We understand the business really well. We understand how the operating models work. We have dealt with many clients, which means that our understanding of the banking sector, the fintech and payment system sector, the insurance sector, having worked in the insurance sector myself, and the wealth management sector that were clients, it makes total sense for us to focus on those areas. In relation to jurisdictions, clearly with Nigel operating in the Middle East, me operating in the UK, we are able to bolt both elements to those jurisdictions together to be able to offer our clients substantive value and network and access to those markets.
And it's worth pointing out that the sort of roles we're going to focus on are C-level, so they're typically CEO or CIO, but also heads of distribution, heads of marketing, and if it's a financial services company, head of comms or head of PR, and also compliance roles. So it can be any role within a financial services company, but it's got to be ideally in the C-level sweet spot. It is, of course, incredibly tough for everyone at the moment, particularly search firms who, in my opinion, are battling on a number of fronts. First of all, they have very high overheads, particularly if their office is in a prime location. They've got massive cash flow headaches, and this is because invoices simply aren't being paid in time. We've heard that many of the largest institutions in the Middle East are taking up to a year to actually settle the fees owed to certain executive search firms, which is a massive headache. And of course, there's been a complete collapse in the number of new mandates. But having said all this, the 5 largest executive search firms, their competitors, by the way, have quite an amusing acronym for these firms, SHREK, still have the advantage of receiving mandates owing to the global agreements. Now, speaking to friends who work in search, it would appear that the top 5 firms in the Middle East, we know who they are, have a dominant 75% market share, which leaves about 25% for everyone else. What FS Executive plans to do is carve out a niche by focusing exclusively on the financial services sector. And we firmly believe that our first-hand experiences of financial services and our incredibly deep network gives us a big advantage, particularly in the subsectors like investment management and insurance. And then looking to the future, it's not necessarily all doom and gloom. A survey which was published by one of the executive search trade bodies revealed that the majority of business leaders will still be looking to increase or at least maintain the level of both search firms and in-house recruiters. And when you analyze some of the data from this study, what was particularly useful is that 50% of the business leaders will choose search firms over other business providers for a couple of reasons. One, their professionalism, that was stated by 64% of the people who participated. Secondly, access to candidates who are difficult to contact, which is 62%. Remember, not everyone has a profile on LinkedIn. And thirdly, confidentiality, stated by 50%. And another question which was asked was, what are the most important factors when selecting a search firm? And what I found, music to my ears, was that the number one choice was the consultant knowledge of the industry, which is why specialization, FS executive, is so important these days. Pricing and geographical reach were actually further down in the pecking order. This is the end of the first part of this interview. Please do share and like, and we look forward to seeing you in the next section.